For years, one of my favorite podcasts has been On the Media. I just find their approach to be nuanced in a way that really speaks to me. And today they continue that with a new series they're calling The Divided Dial. Watchers of my TikTok account may already have spoilers for this series. Recognize the name Salem Media Group? Well, if you haven't, or even if you have, keep watching. I'm gonna let past me talk about them a little more. There is a huge right-wing media industry far beyond just Fox. When it comes to the Council for National Policy, members own or operate all of these brands, and I think I'm even forgetting a few. For those of you just joining us, the CNP is an incredibly secretive Christian dominionist organization. Some of the membership listings for their more high-profile, influential leaders. Although the Council for National Policy itself does not create content, its members committed to influence do. And as you can see, many of these are networks or groups. The explicitly Christian Bot Radio Network operates 120 stations in 14 states. The founder and his son, the current CEO, Council for National Policy members. Here are some of the shows that Bot hosts. I am genuinely curious as someone born and raised in Los Angeles. Have you heard of or listened to any of these shows? And then there's Salem Media Group. This is from their website detailing their extensive reach. Salem is also a father and son CNP media venture. The son, Stu Epperson Jr., is the president of the Truth Broadcasting Corporation. I literally could not fit all of the shows that they run onto this image. Again, very curious to hear from commenters. Have you heard of or listened to any of these shows? Last year when I drove across the country, I went out of my way to listen to some of these radio stations, and it really was my girlfriend and I in her Subaru traversing the heartland listening to dehumanizing rhetoric. Okay, so why does this coordination matter? Well, studies like this one from Harvard Center for Internet and Society show that the very traditions of journalism differ at outlets like those, and those traditions began to form in the late 60s, early 70s before the CNP was founded in 1981. This is a fantastic graph kind of detailing some of these shifts. Just before 1970, you see the Southern strategy, TBS and CBN follow soon after. Then comes the moral majority and the repeal of the fairness doctrine. Those shifts in combination with massive media consolidation, like 5 companies owning 90% of media when it used to be more like 50, were actually less of a problem for these outlets and their predecessors than more mainstream publications. Most outlets depend on advertising for their revenue, but less than half of early Salem stations did. Most of their revenue came from selling blocks of time to religious organizations, as well as contributions from listenership. That model only became more appealing upon the repeal of the fairness doctrine. Fast forward to 1996 and that Telecommunications Act lobbied for by CNP member Newt Gingrich, and then acquisition of other stations could boom. So as these organizations consolidate, silo, and put their information behind paywalls, reliable, free information becomes more and more difficult to find. So then you start to see these feedback loops. Politicians favored by certain media tend to only talk to them more and more. The public, looking for validation and acceptance by their leaders, seeks out that representation from the news that covers them. And because those media are siloed conglomerates, they can create narratives that only exist within themselves. How about an example? When CNP members decided they were done with mitigating COVID, despite the public's wariness, they created a coalition of doctors, because the secular left loves doctors, and they utilize their and social media to, as they say, put on theater. A repetition from all those different outlets gives a false sense of legitimacy. So when all these sources say the same thing, so is your congressperson, Facebook ads, her book, live presentations at your church. Maybe now you can see why this ecosystem has such an impact. And yes, this does feel quite validating.